In the deep silence of space the stars burned cold and far, and the Galactic Council sat in their grand chamber high above a silver world. Their long bodies were still, but their minds were full of fear. For many years they had ruled the galaxy with soft words and hard weapons. No new species had ever challenged them. But now rumors had come from the dark edges of space. Rumors about the humans. They were a young race new to the stars, and yet they moved fast. They built strange weapons that even the old races could not understand. The word that passed from mouth to mouth was railgun, a weapon that fired metal so fast that no shield could stop it. Some said it could break a moon. Some said it was only a story. In the council chamber the voices rose. One alien with glassy skin spoke first. It said the humans were too small, too weak to be a danger. Another with eyes like burning coals answered back. It said one of its patrol ships had been lost near the human border. It had been destroyed by a single shot. The wreck had drifted for days before they found it. No energy burn, no missile mark, just a hole clean and deep right through the armor. The council fell quiet at that. They all looked to the high chair where the elder sat. The elder was very old and very wise. Its many hands trembled as it read the report. It knew what this meant. A weapon that could kill a warship with one strike was no small thing. And yet the humans had not attacked. They had sent messages of peace and trade. But under those soft words something else was moving. Something cold and strong. The elder felt it and shivered. Far away near the edge of the solar system, a small human ship drifted alone. It was a simple scout, or at least it looked simple. A huge alien cruiser approached it slow and proud. The aliens wanted to test the humans. They sent a signal to surrender. The human ship did not answer. Instead, a long dark gun rose from its hull. It made no sound. It fired once. A flash of light cut the darkness and the alien cruiser shook as if struck by a god. Then it split apart clean and silent. No explosion, no fire, only pieces drifting in the void. The few alien survivors sent a single word before they died. Railgun. The message reached the council before the wreck did. They read it again and again. Some said it was a trick. Some said it was war. The elder closed its eyes. It remembered the days when its own people had been young and bold. It had seen many new species rise and fall. But never had it seen such speed, such daring. Humans had come from a small blue world only a century ago. They had been poor and divided. Now they built ships of steel and guns of thunder. The council had thought them harmless. Now the council wondered if it was too late. In a dark room beneath the chamber the spies gathered. They showed secret images of humans testing their weapons. Huge railguns mounted on spinning platforms around their sun. They fired at rocks and the rocks turned to dust. The spies whispered that the humans could hit a target from 1,000,000 kilometers away. The council did not want to believe it. But the images were clear. The elder rose at last and spoke. Its voice was thin but sharp. It said a new power had come to the stars. It said the council must be careful. Some of the younger members laughed. They said humans were only playing with toys. They said the council's fleets were stronger. They said the humans would bow like all the rest. The elder did not laugh. It sent a private signal to its own world telling them to prepare. Far away in the solar system the humans watched the council too. Their telescopes saw the alien fleets moving closer. Their leaders met in secret and spoke in low voices. They did not want war. They wanted to live free. But they remembered the old history of Earth. They remembered how often peace had been broken by stronger powers. They had learned from every fight. Now they would not be caught weak. In a steel room under the ice of Europa, a human commander stood before a new weapon. It was long and dark like a spear made of night. Engineers worked around it silent and quick. The commander touched the cold metal and spoke only one word. Ready. In the council chamber the debate raged on. Some wanted to attack now before the humans grew stronger. Some wanted to talk and offer them a place in the council. Some simply waited and hoped the problem would go away. But the council could not hide from what was coming. Already news was spreading across the galaxy. Traders whispered of human weapons. Smugglers carried small human devices that outperformed alien tech. The balance of power was shifting and no one could stop it. The Elder looked out the great window at the stars. It thought of the old warning. Never underestimate a new species. Never corner a creature that is still growing. But the council had already begun to move its fleets. The Elder saw the future in its mind, and it was full of fire. In the darkness beyond Neptune, a small human drone received a secret message from Earth. It opened its wings and aimed its sensors at the alien fleet. It saw their numbers and their weapons. It sent the data back to Earth in a bright line of code. On the ground in a hidden command center, humans watched the numbers appear on their screens. They said nothing. They only worked faster. In the sky above the council planet, a single small ship appeared. It carried no weapons, only a message. The message was short. It said, "Do not test us." The council read the message, and some laughed. Some felt a chill. The Elder did not laugh. It knew the truth behind such words. It had spoken them once long ago when its own people had risen. It had seen what came next. Far across the galaxy the humans prepared their railguns and waited. They did not boast. They did not threaten. They built and watched and learned. And the stars burned cold and far as the council argued in its chamber, unaware that the time for words was ending. The galaxy held its breath as the young race from the blue world stood ready to show its strength. And in the silence between stars the sound of a single shot still echoed a warning of what was coming. The Galactic Council chamber no longer felt like a place of power, it felt like a nest of fear. The walls of silver metal reflected the dim blue lights, and the faces of the many alien races looked pale and tense. The news of the human railgun attack had spread faster than light across every system, and now each representative whispered to another, trying to find comfort in old alliances, but there was no comfort here. The council had always been sure of its strength, its fleets, its shields, its traditions, and its control over new species, but the story of one small human ship destroying a cruiser with a single silent shot had cracked that confidence like glass. Now the great chamber that once echoed with proud speeches was full of low voices like insects in the dark. One tall alien with a crown of living vines hissed and said, "Humans are dangerous, they must be stopped before they spread." Another alien with 4 arms and a mouth full of teeth answered back saying, "You speak of stopping them. But do you know how their weapon works? Our shields do not even slow it. Our armor breaks like sand. They are not weak, they are clever and hungry for survival, and they build fast, faster than any of us." The Elder sat in its high chair and watched their fear grow, its many eyes seeing the tremor in every hand and the doubt in every voice. It had warned them before, but they had laughed. Now they listened, but perhaps it was already too late. Below the chamber in secret rooms the council's spies showed more data to the High Commander's. Images stolen from human systems showed great rings floating around their sun, each ring a platform for railguns and new weapons, each test turning a mountain of rock into a cloud of dust in seconds. One spy with gray scales said, "Our estimates show they could destroy a fleet before it even reaches orbit." Another spy said, "They are also building something else, but we do not yet know what." The council members hissed and shifted. Some demanded an attack before the humans grew even stronger. Some demanded diplomacy, some whispered of assassination, of sabotage, of shadows in the dark, but every option carried risk. The humans were new to the stars, but their minds were old with war. They had learned from every fight on their own world. The Elder thought of the human history. It had read in secret files wars that had burned continents and rebuilt them in decades, leaps in science driven by struggle and need, a people forged in fire now reaching for the stars and building weapons. Not for conquest but for survival. It understood this and feared it, because a people who fight only to live free are more dangerous than conquerors. In the chamber the debate grew louder. One alien slammed a claw against the table and shouted, "They are bluffing. Their ship was lucky, their weapon small. We should crush them now while they are still weak." Another alien with eyes like liquid metal whispered back, "You fool, they are not bluffing, they are waiting for us to strike first so they can claim defense and strike us harder." The Elder raised its hand, and silence fell. It said in a voice low and cold, "We have underestimated them already. Do not do so again. If we push them they will push back harder than you imagine." The room stayed quiet for a moment, but only a moment, because fear is louder than wisdom, and soon the voices rose again beyond the chamber. Across alien worlds, news channels broadcast stories about the humans, showing images of their cities, of their ships, of the silent railgun shot that had cut a cruiser in half. Some shows called them monsters, some called them heroes, some called them the new power of the galaxy. Merchants worried about trade, warlords dreamed of conquest, small species who had suffered under the council whispered of hope. Perhaps the humans would free them from the old rule. The galaxy was shifting, and the council could feel the ground moving under its feet, yet still many of its members clung to pride. They remembered countless victories over new races and thought this would be no different, but in their private rooms they spoke more softly. They ordered fleets to move closer to human space. They built secret weapons and tested new shields, but none of it felt enough, because the humans built faster, and the humans did not stop in the solar system. The humans saw all of this. Their telescopes tracked every alien fleet, every new movement, every test. They did not panic, they did not rush, they worked in silence, building railguns, hidden bases, and new ships. Their leaders met in quiet rooms and spoke of peace, but prepared for war. For them, this was nothing new. They had lived their whole history with threats above their heads. Now the threats were only larger, and farther away. In the council chamber, the elder looked at the map of stars glowing before it, 1,000 systems under their watch, and yet one small blue planet now made them tremble. It wondered if this was how its own people had looked at the galaxy long ago, when they were young, before they became rulers and forgot what it was to fight for survival. It wondered if it was now seeing the birth of something unstoppable. The elder's thoughts were broken by a new report. Another patrol ship lost near the human border, another hull clean and deep through armor, no energy signature, no missile, only a strike like lightning made of metal. The council hissed again. This cannot be chance, this cannot be luck, this is war. They are attacking us. One alien cried, but another whispered, no, this is warning. They could have destroyed the whole fleet, but they did not. They want us to think before we move. The elder closed its eyes. It knew which voice was right. The humans were sending a message not of conquest, but of strength. The message said, do not push us, do not corner us, we will fight if you force us. The elder opened its eyes and saw only fear around it. Fear can make fools of the wise, it thought, and the chamber around it was full of fools who believed their fleets could still crush a people who had already learned the hard way how to survive in the dark of space. Far from all this noise, a small human probe drifted at the edge of alien territory, its black skin hiding it from sensors, its long antenna sending streams of data back to Earth. The humans were watching, always watching, and learning every move of their enemies. In a command center under the ice of Europa, the same commander who had touched the cold railgun looked at a screen full of alien symbols and said one word, soon, and the engineers worked faster in silence. The galaxy turned slowly, and the council's fear grew heavier each day until even the stars outside the great window seemed less bright. The old power was shaking, and a new power was rising, and no one could say what would happen next, but all could feel it like a storm on the horizon, coming closer with every moment, and the elder knew that storm had a name: humanity. Across the cold stars the Galactic Council gathered its strength, but deep inside its grand chamber there was a growing unease, because even with all their fleets moving, and all their spies searching, they still could not understand the humans. The elder watched this confusion with silent eyes, knowing that the real power of the humans was not only their railguns but their mind and their patience. While the council shouted and planned, the humans simply acted in quiet precision. Far away, on the small blue planet, humans were sending out signals not of war but of peace and trade. They wrote in clear words, we come in friendship, we wish for cooperation, we do not seek conquest. Yet behind every polite message there was a hidden steel, a quiet warning that only the wise could feel, and the elder could feel it. The humans spoke softly, but their ships moved steadily, their weapons grew, their networks expanded, and their silence held more weight than all the council's speeches. A new report arrived in the chamber. A human ambassador had sent a short transmission. It was simple, clear, and polite. The council listened as the voice of a young human woman spoke across the room. She said, we value peace, but we will defend ourselves if forced. To the chamber stirred. Some laughed, saying it was a bluff. Others hissed that it was a threat. The elder said nothing. It only remembered the images of the railgun shot cutting through armor like paper in hidden rooms below the chamber. More spies showed images of new human platforms being built around Mars and in the dark orbit of Jupiter. They whispered, the humans now have weapons that can fire across the entire system. They have power to destroy fleets before they reach orbit, and yet they do not fire first. They wait. The council debated again. Some wanted to send their own ambassadors to Earth, some wanted to send assassins, some wanted to send fleets bigger than before, but every option was dangerous, because every day that passed the humans grew stronger. On Earth. The leaders gathered in a small room. Underground maps of alien fleets glowed on their screens. One leader said they are coming, another said we must talk, another said we must prepare, and a fourth said we will do both, for we have learned to speak softly and build strongly. While the aliens think only of force, we will think of survival and victory. A decision was made. Messages of peace would continue, but the railguns would be built faster. The commanders agreed no one would see them coming until it was too late. Far out near Neptune, a human drone picked up new signals of alien fleets massing. It sent the data back to Earth. The humans watched and adjusted their plans. Their engineers worked like silent ants, building new weapons on Europa, on Titan, and even in deep space, hidden among the asteroids. The Council did not know how much had already been done. In the chamber of the Council, one alien with a crest of red feathers hissed loudly, "They are stalling us with words. They are weak. Let us strike and crush them." Another alien with crystal skin whispered back, "You fool, they are not weak, they are preparing. They speak of peace, but they are ready for war." The elder finally spoke, its voice cold and low. It said, "Do not mistake patience for fear. The humans are not afraid, they are waiting." Some members looked at it with anger, others with doubt, but deep in their hearts they knew the elder was right. Still they could not stop their pride from speaking louder than their reason. Far away, on the blue planet, the young human ambassador finished her speech to the Council, her eyes calm, her tone soft, but behind her words, every listener could feel a shadow of strength, a sense that she was not begging, she was warning. She ended by saying, "We desire friendship, but we will not be slaves." The transmission cut off, and the chamber fell silent for a long moment. Across the galaxy, small races who had suffered under the Council heard this message too, and whispered to each other, maybe the humans would be different. Maybe the humans would not rule as the Council had ruled. Maybe they would break the old order. The elder could see this new current forming like a tide under the stars, and it made the Council tremble even more, because power does not only come from weapons, it comes from allies and ideas. And now even ideas were moving toward the humans. In the hidden rooms of the Council, spies reported that some minor species had begun secret talks with human agents, offering support, offering information, offering supplies. The Council tried to shut it down, but the tide was growing on Earth. The human leaders read these reports from their own spies and smiled slightly, not with joy but with grim understanding. They knew the galaxy was changing, and they had no choice but to step into the storm. The railgun engineers on Europa finished another massive gun, and the commander touched the cold steel again, whispering, "Ready." As always in the chamber, the Council prepared a new move, a warning fleet, even bigger than before, but still they argued, still they doubted, still they feared. While the humans sent another message, even shorter than the last. It said, "We wish peace, but we are ready." The elder closed its eyes and felt the weight of those words like stones. It had heard many messages from many species, but never had one sounded like this, never had one sounded so much like destiny. In the quiet corners of the chamber, some aliens began to whisper of retreat, of making peace before it was too late, but the louder voices still called for war. The elder knew which side would win the vote, but also knew what the cost would be. Across the stars, the humans kept working silently, their platforms hidden, their weapons growing, their patience unbroken, their message always the same, simple, soft, and heavy like a hammer wrapped in cloth. And now even the stars seemed to lean closer to hear what would happen next, for the galaxy had felt a shift, a new power rising, not with noise, but with calm, not with threat, but with promise. And all who listened knew the promise had two sides, one of peace and one of destruction, and the choice lay with the Council, not with the humans who had already chosen their path. They would defend their freedom. And the elder whispered to itself, "They warned us," and the chamber around it argued and plotted, while beyond their reach the humans watched and waited and prepared, and the silent railguns pointed at the sky like black spears ready to speak if words failed. And the galaxy held its breath a little tighter as the human message echoed in the dark between stars. The alien fleet came like a storm across the black sea of space. Their ships were huge and shining with strange colors, engines glowing like suns, weapons ready to burn worlds. The Galactic Council had called it only a warning fleet, but everyone on every ship knew the truth. It was not a warning, it was a test, and a threat. They wanted to scare the humans, to make them kneel before the old power of the galaxy. The elder had warned them, but no one had listened. Now it sat alone in its high chair, watching the reports come, and the fleet moved into the solar system like a knife through water, silent and sure. The smallest species who had suffered under the Council watched in fear, and in secret hope. They wondered if the humans would break, or if they would stand far away in hidden stations on Mars. And under the ice of Europa, humans watched every move, their screens full of alien numbers and symbols, their hands steady, their faces calm. They had prepared for this moment for years, railguns hidden on Platforms in deep orbit powered up, slowly charging like sleeping beasts in the darkness. No one spoke, only the hum of machines filled the command centers. The Council fleet sent a signal to Earth, a voice deep and cold saying, "Humans, surrender your weapons, and your ships join the Council, or be destroyed." The message echoed across the solar system, but the humans did not answer. They sent no voice, no word, only silence, and silence is heavier than a shout. On the flagship of the Council fleet, the commander laughed. He told his officers, "These creatures are afraid, they are frozen, they will bow as all others have bowed." He did not see the small human drone drifting just beyond his sensors. He did not know that the drone had already sent every detail of his fleet to Earth. Under the ice of Europa, the human commander stared at the screen showing the alien ships glowing like red marks on a dark sea. His voice calm. He said, "Target ready." A chorus of voices answered, "Ready." Across the solar system, long black railguns turned slowly like eyes opening. They locked on their targets, invisible beams marking the alien ships. The alien commander gave the order, "Begin." The show of power, charge weapons. But in that moment, before the alien guns fired, a single human railgun spoke first. It made no sound, no flash, only a thin line of light cutting across the void. It hit the lead alien battleship. In an instant, armor shattered like glass. The ship split in two clean and silent pieces, drifting into the dark. Before the rest of the fleet understood what had happened, another shot came from another hidden platform, then another, and another, each one a spear of metal faster than thought. Shields failed, armor cracked, crews screamed. The alien fleet scattered like birds before a storm, trying to form a line, trying to fight back, but the railguns kept firing, silent, relentless, unstoppable. Each shot a message. This is not luck, this is not a bluff, this is power. In the Council chamber far away, the representatives watched the live feed, their faces pale, some whispering impossible, others shaking their heads. The elder sat silent, its eyes full of cold light. It had seen this coming, and now it was here. The alien commander on the flagship shouted, "Fire back, fire back." But their weapons could not find the hidden human platforms. Their beams cut empty space, their missiles exploded against nothing. One more shot hit the flagship, tearing through its core. Alarms screamed. The commander fell to the floor as his ship broke apart. The fleet began to retreat, panic rising in every heart, but the railguns did not chase. They fired once more, then fell silent. The human commander on Europa gave the order, "Cease fire." The silence returned heavy as stone. The surviving alien ships fled out of the solar system, broken and afraid. The humans did not pursue, they only watched, their railguns cooling, their operators calm. No cheers, no laughter, only the sound of machines winding down. On Earth, the leaders received the report, a simple line, "Enemy fleet destroyed at minimal cost." They nodded, grim-faced, knowing this was only the beginning. In the Council chamber, chaos exploded, representatives shouting over each other, some screaming for more war, others for surrender. The elder rose and spoke, its voice cutting through the noise. It said, "You were warned, now you have seen what they can do. Do not push them again." But few listened. Fear and pride mixed like poison in their veins. Across alien worlds, news spread faster than light, images of massive ships cut apart by invisible weapons. Traders and soldiers and common beings watched and whispered of the humans, some in awe, some in terror, some in hope. The old order was shaking, and everyone could feel it. The humans had spoken not with words, but with steel and silence. They had shown they would not bow, they had shown they were ready to fight, but they had also shown restraint. They could have destroyed the entire fleet, but they had let the survivors run. This, too, was a message: we are strong, but we do not seek conquest. The elder understood it, but feared the Council would not. Across the solar system, humans continued their work, quietly moving damaged platforms, repairing their weapons, preparing for what might come next, because they knew the Council would not forget, and would not forgive. The alien commander of the broken fleet sent a final report before his ship went dark. He said, "Their power is real, their aim is perfect, their patience deadly." And then his signal ended. Far from this scene, a small species under Council rule watched the news and whispered, "Maybe freedom is coming, maybe the humans will change everything." In the hidden command center on Europa, the human commander turned off the screen, his eyes tired, but steady. He whispered one word, "Ready," because he knew this was not victory, this was only the first strike. The storm had only begun to form, and beyond the stars the galaxy held its breath a little tighter as the silent railguns pointed outward, waiting for the next move, waiting for the Council's answer. And in the great chamber, the elder looked at the stars through the high window, thinking of an old saying: "Never corner a creature who wants only to be free, never mistake silence for weakness, and never forget the first strike." The smoke of the first battle still drifted in the darkness of space, but already both sides were moving again. The alien fleet, broken and afraid, had run back to its bases, yet the Council did not stop. It began building even larger warships, pulling old weapons out of secret vaults, gathering armies from every system. They called it a defense, but everyone in the galaxy knew it was revenge. The elder watched this with a heavy heart, knowing the lesson had not been learned, knowing the humans would not Wait forever on Earth. The leaders met in secret rooms reading new reports, their faces calm, their voices low. One said they will come back stronger, another said we must finish our preparations, another said we must not strike first but we must be ready, and the commander under the ice of Europa only whispered the same word, ready, because across the solar system something vast was awakening, the railgun network, no longer just hidden platforms but great stations linked together like a chain of iron. Around the sun, each gun larger and faster than before, each one built to strike not just ships but whole fleets at once. Human engineers worked without pause, welding metal in the dark of space, their breath freezing in their helmets, their hands steady because they all knew what was coming. And far across the galaxy the council watched with fear and disbelief, their spies sending images of weapons beyond anything the old races had ever seen. One alien scientist whispered to another, "These guns can pierce even planetary shields." The other said, "This cannot be true," but the images did not lie. The elder spoke softly to its aides, saying, "This is not conquest, this is survival, and that makes it stronger than conquest." But no one wanted to hear. Beyond the council chamber, on dozens of alien worlds, ordinary beings watched the human railguns rise like black towers in the void. Some saw terror, some saw hope, and whispered, "Maybe the humans will free us from the old order." The tide was shifting faster now. In the council chamber the debates turned to shouting. One alien with blue scales screamed, "They humiliated us, we must crush them before they grow even stronger." Another with a silver crest hissed, "You fool, they are already stronger, their patience is our doom." But the majority still voted for war. They believed their new superweapons would break the humans. They called it Operation Dawnstrike, a fleet larger than any seen in centuries, warships bigger than cities, weapons that bent space itself. The elder sat silent, knowing what this meant. Far away the humans already knew about Dawnstrike. Their drones had seen the fleet forming, their spies had heard the whispers. Their leaders met and made a choice. The railguns would not just defend the solar system, they would reach out into the dark, they would be unleashed. The commander on Europa stood before a wall of screens, each one showing a different weapon, a different station, a different target. His voice calm, he said, "We will not strike first but we will not wait for them to reach Earth. Either when they cross the line we act." And the engineers nodded, silent, understanding heavy in their eyes. Days passed, the council fleet grew, and moved its path straight toward human space, its commanders proud, certain of victory. They spoke of the humans as insects to be burned away, but in the shadows of space the humans prepared quietly, railguns hidden among asteroids, railguns floating near the orbit of distant moons, railguns on ships disguised as cargo vessels. The galaxy had never seen such a web of silent guns waiting, and at last the council fleet crossed the line. The humans had drawn an invisible line at the edge of their system, and when the fleet passed it the railguns woke like a storm. The first shot came from a platform near Neptune, a spear of metal faster than thought. It struck a warship at the heart, tearing it apart before its shields even flared. The second shot came from a hidden station behind an asteroid, 2 ships destroyed in one blow. The third from a disguised freighter cutting through a cruiser like paper, and then the silence was gone, replaced by a rain of silent lightning. Railguns unleashed all at once, every platform firing at targets mapped for months, every shot clean, every strike perfect. Alien shields collapsed, alien armor shattered. The great fleet built with pride and hate broke like ice under the sun. Commanders screamed orders, but there was no defense, their weapons too slow, their sensors blind, their tactics useless. Against a net that saw every move before it was made, the elder watched from far away, its eyes full of sorrow, as the council's greatest armada fell apart in minutes. The humans had not waited, they had struck with precision and restraint. Even now they did not aim at the civilian ships, even now they left openings for retreat, but the message was clear: you will not pass, you will not break us on Earth. The leaders received the reports, their faces still calm but their hands tight on the table. One said, "It is done," another said, "It has only begun." In the hidden command center on Europa the commander whispered the same word, "ready," because he knew there would be more after this. But for now the railguns had spoken, and the galaxy had heard. Across alien worlds the news spread, images of massive warships shattered by invisible shots, of the great fleet running broken and burning. Beings whispered to each other, "This is the end of the old order. This is the rise of the new." Some in terror, some in joy. The council sat in its chamber, pale and silent, no one shouting now, only fear filling the air. The elder spoke at last, saying, "They warned us, and we did not listen, and now the galaxy has changed forever. Beyond the stars the humans began to reload their weapons, quietly cooling the guns, repairing the platforms, saying nothing because they knew this was not victory, this was a warning. And the galaxy held its breath again as the silent black guns turned outward, waiting for the next wave, waiting for the next decision. And the name humanity whispered across 1,000 worlds, not as a joke, not as a rumor, but as a power unleashed. And the council for the first time in ages realized what it was to be afraid. Across the galaxy the echo of the battle spread like fire through dry grass. The Council's greatest fleet had been broken in moments, and every system felt the shock. Once proud worlds loyal to the Council for centuries now whispered in fear. Some spoke of rebellion, some spoke of surrender, some spoke of the humans as saviors, and some as monsters, but all of them spoke the name humanity. The Elder sat alone in its high chamber, its many eyes staring at the star map, glowing before it, 1,000 lights. Each one a world it had thought safe and steady, now flickering like candles in a storm. Its hands trembled, because it could feel the old order cracking. The railguns had not just destroyed ships, they had destroyed the illusion of invincibility that held the Council together, and without that illusion, everything began to fall apart. On distant planets, alien citizens poured into streets, their leaders shouting at each other on news broadcasts, demanding answers. Why had the Council provoked the humans? Why had their fleets been sent to die? Voices rose in anger on one world, riots broke out on another, soldiers refused orders on a third, small governments sent secret messages to human agents offering information, offering support, offering a place in a new future, and the humans watched all of this from their silent stations, their faces calm, but their minds sharp. They had not asked for this chaos, but they had expected it because they knew that power changes everything. Far away in the Council chamber, the remaining members argued louder than ever. Some demanded immediate surrender to the humans, some demanded building even larger fleets, some called for secret weapons hidden for millennia, some even whispered of breaking the Council apart and letting each world decide its own path. The Elder listened to all of it and felt a deep sadness because it understood what was coming: a storm of fear and pride, a war of desperation. The humans had shown restraint, but restraint is invisible to the proud. They would only see weakness and strike again and lose again, and the galaxy would burn in their foolishness. On alien news channels the pictures of shattered warships played again and again, slow images of giant hulls breaking apart under invisible blows. Citizens stared at them in silence, some trembling, some cheering, some weeping. Old myths were reborn, stories of a young race rising from a small world to challenge the stars and winning. Small species that had been crushed under the Council's heel began to hope maybe the humans would free them, maybe the humans would give them a voice, and already small rebel groups sent messages to Earth offering alliances. The human leaders received these signals and debated quietly. One said, "We cannot fight for them all." Another said, "But they are reaching out." Another said, "We must be careful, we cannot become what we fight against." The commander on Europa listened and said nothing, his eyes on the screens showing alien fleets moving again like wounded predators, trying to circle their prey. He knew the next battle would not be like the first because desperation makes enemies dangerous. The Elder sent a private message to its home world, telling them to prepare for collapse, telling them to gather food and resources, telling them to stay silent and neutral. It knew the Council would soon tear itself apart. Already its allies were questioning its leadership, already its enemies were planning to break away. The galaxy was tilting, and no one could stop it. In the streets of the Council's capital, protests broke out for the first time in centuries, beings holding signs in alien languages demanding peace, demanding change, demanding the end of war. The guards watched uncertain, some even joined the protesters because they too had lost friends in the broken fleet. The Council sent troops to restore order, but the protests only grew larger and louder, spreading to other worlds. The old fear of the Council was gone, replaced by anger and uncertainty, and still the humans remained silent. They sent no threats, no demands, only watched and waited, their railguns cooling, their platforms hidden but ready, their drones drifting through the dark, gathering more data on the crumbling order across the galaxy. Some of the younger Council members began to plan their escape. Some sent messages to human space, offering secret routes and codes. Others began to build their own private fleets, preparing for a time when the Council would no longer protect them. The Elder saw all of this and felt the weight of history pressing down like a mountain. It had lived long enough to see great powers rise and fall, but never like this, never so fast, never with so much silence and precision. It thought of the human message still echoing in its mind: "We desire peace, but we will not be slaves," and it knew those were not empty words. In hidden corners of the galaxy, smuggler ships carried human technology faster than any band could stop it. Small devices, small weapons, spreading like seeds among those who wanted change. The Council tried to stop it, but its grip was slipping, and the harder it squeezed, the more worlds broke away on Earth. The leaders watched the reports, their faces still calm, but their plans shifting because they knew chaos could be dangerous, even if it worked in their favor. The commander on Europa reviewed maps of alien space marking systems where riots had started, marking worlds where soldiers refused orders, marking fleets where loyalty was breaking. He whispered, "Soon Because he could see the shape of the next move before it came, the humans did not smile, they did not cheer, they only prepared, because they understood that victory in one battle does not end a war, it only changes its shape. In the council chamber, the arguments turned to threats. One alien shouted, "We will build a weapon to destroy their sun." Another hissed, "We will unleash the forbidden machines." Another whispered, "We will not survive this." And the elder, at last, stood and said, "Enough, your pride is killing you. Listen to me, they do not seek to rule us, they only seek to be left alone. Do not make them our destroyers." But no one listened, because fear is louder than wisdom, and pride is heavier than truth, and so the chamber erupted again while outside the protests grew, and the galaxy shifted, and in the dark beyond the stars the silent railguns waited like black spears ready to speak once more if words failed, and across 1,000 worlds the name humanity passed from mouth to mouth, not as a rumor, not as a warning, but as a new reality. And the elder sat down, its eyes on the star map, thinking of the future, and whispering to itself, "The old order is ending, and nothing we do can stop it." In the heart of the council's capital, the great chamber stood dark and cold, the voices of 100 species now reduced to a handful of desperate leaders, their faces pale, their bodies tense. The defeat of their fleet still haunted them, but their pride would not let them stop. They had lost ships, but not power. They told themselves they had lost a battle, but not the war. In secret rooms below the chamber, old scientists were brought out of exile, forbidden projects reopened, hidden vaults unlocked, ancient weapons drawn from the depths of time, machines that had been banned because they broke the laws of nature now given back to engineers who worked without rest. The project was called Silent Dawn, and it was to be their answer to the railguns, a weapon to end not only ships but whole systems, to crush the humans before they could grow any stronger. On distant worlds, slaves were taken from mines and laboratories, forced to build components under threat of death. Some whispered the name Silent Dawn with terror, some with hope, believing it would restore the council's power, believing it would end the fear of humanity once and for all. But in the highest tower the elder watched and felt only dread, because it knew Silent Dawn was not a shield, it was a knife that would cut too deep and bleed the galaxy dry. It remembered old wars fought with similar weapons, and the ghosts they left behind. It had seen what happens when desperation meets arrogance, and it had no illusions of victory. Meanwhile, across the solar system, the humans continued their work, their engineers repairing and upgrading the railgun network, their spies deep inside council space sending back reports of strange movements, large shipments of rare materials, hidden convoys slipping through secret lanes. The commander on Europa read these reports one by one, his brow furrowed, his voice calm but heavy with meaning. He said, "They are building something new, something old and dangerous." And his aides looked at him, waiting for orders. He told them, "We must not strike first, but we must be ready for anything, because desperate enemies break rules and break worlds." The human leaders met in secret again. Some voices said we should destroy their projects before they finish, others said we should wait and see, but all of them agreed on one thing: they would not allow Earth or its colonies to be caught unprepared. In the council chamber, the last loyal members argued bitterly. One said, "This weapon will doom us all." Another said, "It is our only chance." Another said, "The humans are not gods, they can be defeated." And the elder spoke softly, saying, "We are no longer fighting for victory, we are fighting for our own destruction." But no one listened. The plan moved forward. Silent Dawn was built in hidden shipyards deep in the cores of dying stars, its components scattered across 1,000 systems, its heart a black device that pulsed with energy older than the council itself, a weapon that could create a ripple through space, tearing apart matter and shield alike. No railgun, no fleet could stand against it. At least that was the dream of those who built it, but dreams built in fear rarely end well. Across the galaxy rumors spread, small worlds heard whispers of the council's secret weapon. Some believed it, some dismissed it as lies, some prayed it would work, some prayed it would never be used. The humans heard too, their drones catching fragments of transmissions, their analysts piecing together patterns, and soon the picture became clear. Silent Dawn was real, and it was coming. The commander stared at the final report and said quietly, "They will destroy themselves and us if they use this. We must be faster, we must be smarter." And in the shadows of space, new human stations were built, not just railguns but shields, new drives, new tactics, each one designed to answer the unknown, because the unknown was coming. On alien news broadcasts, images of protests still filled the screens, beings demanding peace, demanding an end to the council's rule, demanding an end to weapons like Silent Dawn. But the council silenced them with force, soldiers firing into crowds, prisons filled with dissidents. The more they tried to hide their desperation, the more obvious it became, and in the hidden laboratories Silent Dawn neared completion, its core humming, its edges glowing with light. No one sure if it could even be controlled, but no one daring to stop, because the leaders had promised victory, and no one wanted to be the one to tell them the truth. The elder tried one Last time to speak in the chamber, its voice steady but sad, it said, "Stop this before it is too late. The humans will not fall, they will answer, and the galaxy will burn." But the chamber was silent, and then someone hissed, "You are a coward," and another shouted, "You are a traitor," and the elder fell silent, knowing words were useless now. Across the stars the humans prepared, two quietly shifting ships into new formations, placing railguns in deeper orbits, moving their colonies into hardened shelters, even building hidden evacuation ships because they understood that a cornered enemy is the most dangerous of all. The commander on Europa sent a single message to all stations: "Hold the line, be ready," and then he stared at the stars, his hand clenched, because he knew the next move would decide everything, not just for humans, but for everyone. And somewhere in the darkness of the galaxy, a fleet began to gather around a weapon that pulsed like a heart of black fire, silent dawn, waiting for the order that would change history forever. And across 1,000 worlds beings looked up at the stars, wondering if this would be the last calm before the storm. In the cold dark between stars, the two greatest forces the galaxy had ever seen moved toward each other, one born of desperation and old pride, the other born of survival and patient strength. The Council's secret fleet, carrying silent dawn like a dark heart at its center, crept through hidden lanes, using cloaks and false signals to avoid detection, its commanders whispering promises of victory to their crews, but their eyes full of doubt, because they all remembered the railguns and how quickly the great fleet had fallen. And yet they still came, driven by orders, by fear, by the hope that silent dawn would change everything. Far away the humans watched their screens as invisible dots moved closer and closer. Their spies had done their work, their drones had mapped the routes, their analysts had guessed the plan, and in hidden command rooms on Earth and under the ice of Europa, leaders leaned over glowing maps, listening to quiet voices reporting each movement. The commander on Europa stood tall, his hands behind his back, his voice like stone, saying, "They are coming straight for us. They think they are hidden, but we see them. We will not fire first, but when they cross the line the guns will wake." And his aides nodded, their faces pale but steady, because they knew this would not be a battle like the first. This would be a storm. Silent dawn was something unknown, and the unknown was always dangerous. Across the solar system, stations came alive. Railguns powered up, ships shifted position, shields hummed. Drones drifted outward like a cloud of silent eyes. Even the civilian colonies held their breath. Evacuation ships hidden in the shadows, engines warm but dark, waiting for a single signal. The galaxy itself seemed to hold still as the two forces drew close. On alien worlds the protests grew louder, beings shouting at their leaders to stop the madness, to negotiate before it was too late, but the Council silenced them with force and lies, promising quick victory, promising an end to the human threat, promising a return to the old order. And some believed, some even cheered as silent dawn moved toward its target. But on the bridge of the lead ship an alien officer stared at the weapon's dark glow and wondered if it would destroy them all at once. In the council chamber far away the elder sat alone, watching silent screens showing fleet positions, its hands trembling. It had seen this pattern before in ancient history, desperate powers building forbidden weapons to crush an enemy, and instead crushing themselves. It whispered to no one, "They will not stop until the sky burns," but its warning had been ignored. Now all it could do was watch. In the dark of space the council fleet reached the invisible line the humans had drawn and crossed it, their cloaks flickering, their false signals failing as human sensors locked onto them. And in that instant the railguns woke again, but this time the humans did not fire immediately. Instead they sent a single message across the void: "Leave now, turn back, or be destroyed." But pride is louder than reason, and the council commanders laughed, thinking the humans were bluffing, thinking silent dawn would protect them, and they ordered their ships forward. The commander on Europa heard this through cold speakers, and gave the order: "Railguns unleash," and the sky exploded, invisible spears of metal faster than light tearing through shields and hulls, ships dying in silence before their crews even understood what hit them. But this time the council fired back their weapons, newer, stronger beams of energy ripping through some of the human stations, drones falling, shields flaring, even a few railguns going dark. The void lit up with deadly light. Silent dawn began to charge its core, pulsing, a dark glow spreading along cables and conduits, the lead ship's crew chanting orders with trembling voices, the weapon reaching power no one could measure. The humans saw it coming, their sensors screaming warning, the commander's eyes narrowing as he spoke to his aides: "We must stop it now before it fires, or everything ends." And he ordered a full strike, every railgun, every drone, every hidden platform focusing on the lead ship, spears of metal converging from every direction, smashing shields, tearing armor. But the weapon still charged, its glow turning white, its hum shaking the void. And then for a heartbeat the galaxy seemed to stop. The weapon fired a pulse like a black sun, expanding, tearing through space itself. Several railgun stations vanished, their matter torn apart. Drones gone in an instant, ships ripped into dust, alarms screamed across the solar system, but the humans held the line, their remaining guns answering with even greater fury, focusing everything on the weapon's heart. One by one the lead ship's layers cracked, its armor peeling, its shields breaking, its conduits bursting, sparks spilling into the void. Silent Dawn charging again for a second shot, but slower, weaker now. The humans saw their chance and struck, railguns firing a single coordinated volley. 1,000 spears at once. The lead ship cracked open, its heart exposed, Silent Dawn pulsing naked in the dark, and in that moment, a human drone carrying a special payload dove straight into it, vanishing in a silent flash, and then Silent Dawn imploded, its power folding in on itself, ripping the lead ship into nothing. A shockwave spreading across the fleet, ships thrown off course, some colliding, some breaking, some simply freezing as systems failed, and in that moment the Council's last plan died. The remaining ships scattered, trying to flee, but the humans did not chase. They held their fire, letting the broken fleet run, letting survivors escape, because this was not vengeance, this was survival. The commander on Europa watched the screens as red dots vanished, and turned to blue, his voice low but steady, saying, "It is done, but not over." Earth's leaders received the same reports, their faces calm, but their eyes heavy, because they knew the galaxy had just changed. Again, on alien worlds, news of Silent Dawn's failure spread faster than light. Riots turned to uprisings, soldiers laying down arms, leaders fleeing capitals, beings cheering or weeping, some calling the humans saviors, some calling them demons, but all of them realizing the old order was finished. In the council chamber the elder sat silent, staring at the empty seats of those who had mocked it, whispering to itself, "The age of the council is over, the age of humanity has begun." And far across the stars the railguns cooled their barrels, glowing faintly like sleeping dragons waiting for the next call, because even in victory the humans remained silent. They did not send threats or demands, they simply watched, prepared, patient, knowing that survival is not an end, it is only the beginning. The galaxy lay silent after the storm, the stars burned the same, but everything beneath them had changed. The council's fleets were gone, their power shattered, their voice no longer feared. Worlds that had trembled at their commands now stood free, or adrift, some breaking into chaos, some rising in hope. And the name humanity passed from mouth to mouth, not as a rumor, but as a truth. The humans had faced the oldest power in the galaxy, and had not only survived but broken its chains. Yet, on Earth and across the solar system there was no celebration, no great parade. The humans knew this was not victory, it was survival, and survival carries its own weight. In the hidden command center under the ice of Europa the commander walked slowly past silent screens showing images of alien worlds burning and rebuilding, some with riots, some with cheers. His face was calm, but his eyes were heavy, because he understood what came next. For even though the council was broken, its shadow still stretched across the stars. Old warlords rising from the ruins, pirate fleets gathering forbidden weapons, moving in secret. The humans had awakened something greater than one enemy, they had awakened a galaxy that now watched them with fear and desire. Across alien systems rebel leaders sent messages to Earth, offering alliances, offering tribute, offering to become part of a new order, but the humans sent only one reply: "We seek peace, we will defend ourselves, but we will not rule you." And this message spread like light through darkness, surprising many who had expected conquest, confusing those who had expected a new empire, and inspiring those who dreamed of freedom on one world. A young alien leader stood before a crowd holding up the message, and said, "They are not like the council, they are different." And hope spread, but fear spread too, because some believed this was only a trick, some believed humanity was waiting to strike when the galaxy was weak, and their whispers traveled in dark corridors where plots were made and knives were sharpened. The elder who had watched everything sat alone in its empty chamber on the council's capital world, looking at the star map that now flickered with chaos. It had survived the war, but not its cost, its world broken, its allies gone. It sent a final message to Earth saying, "You have changed everything, and perhaps saved us all, but the galaxy will not forgive you easily, be careful." And then it vanished into exile, knowing its time was over. Meanwhile, in the solar system the railgun network stood like a ring of iron, silent but ready, stations being repaired, upgraded, crews rotating home, but always others taking their place. No one relaxed, because they knew new threats would come. Desperation breeds new enemies, even faster than victory breeds friends. On Earth children watched the stars at night, hearing the stories of the railguns and the battles of Neptune and the black heart of Silent Dawn, and they grew up not with fear, but with a strange pride that their small world had stood against the galaxy. But their teachers reminded them always, strength is not for conquest, strength is for survival. Far away the survivors of the council's fleets limped back to scattered bases, some dissolving into mutiny, some swearing revenge, some simply falling silent as their leaders fled. New coalitions began to form, old rivalries resurfaced, whispers of new weapons moved between smugglers and spies, but without the council to bind them nothing came together. Yet, in the shadows of the Galaxy something older than both humans and the council stirred awakened by the echoes of war, ancient machines watching ancient minds thinking because power never rises without drawing eyes from the deep. The commander on Europa knew this, though he had no proof. He stood at his window looking at Jupiter's red storms, and whispered this is only the beginning, and then turned back to his screens where new reports flashed of uprisings, of pirate attacks, of hidden weapons, and he began planning again. Because peace was only a pause, not an end. In alien news broadcasts, images of humans working with alien scientists began to appear, helping rebuild worlds once crushed by the council, offering medicine, food and technology, not weapons. Some aliens saw this and believed the humans truly wanted peace. Others saw only a strategy to gain influence, but all of them had to admit humanity was different. Across 1,000 worlds, beings began to speak to each other without the council's censors. Old cultures blooming, old languages returning, trade opening in new ways, hope and fear mixing like fire and air in the ruins of the council's capital. Small groups of thinkers began to write about a new future, a galaxy without rulers but with balance, and they used the humans as an example. Some even called it the HFY, age humanity for you, a strange phrase in alien tongues, but it spread like a spark because it gave meaning to the chaos. In one secret meeting on Mars, human leaders debated what role they should play now. Some argued we must lead, or others will fill the vacuum. Some argued we must retreat, and guard only our home, but all agreed on one point: we cannot become what we fought against. The railguns are a shield, not a sword. The commander listened, and said simply, we hold the line until the galaxy learns to hold itself. The humans began to send quiet envoys to rebel worlds, to teach defense, to share knowledge, to prevent another council from rising. Some called them wise, some called them naive, but the humans did not care. They had made their choice. Across the stars, the memory of the great battles still burned in minds of soldiers and civilians. Alien poets wrote songs of the railguns, alien children played games called Holding the Line, alien leaders whispered of the silent black guns waiting beyond the stars as they made their plans, and in this mix of fear and respect, humanity became something new, not just a people, not just a planet, but a force woven into the future. The elder watched from exile through secret channels, seeing these changes, and felt a strange relief because it had feared humanity would become conquerors, but instead they had chosen the harder path, and maybe, just maybe, the galaxy had a chance. The humans continued their quiet work, their ships traveling further, their sensors scanning deeper, their weapons kept ready but silent, their voices calm as they spoke to allies and enemies alike. We will not rule, but we will not bow. And under the stars of a changed galaxy, that promise echoed and grew until even the darkest corners began to whisper it, and though new threats rose and old fears remained, the humans stood patient and steady, their railguns cool, their hands open, their eyes forward, and somewhere far away beyond the maps, beyond the known, something older and darker stirred. But for now the galaxy breathed, and for the first time in centuries its people began to imagine a future where no one power ruled them all, and that future had begun with a small world and a patient people who had unleashed their strength not for conquest but for survival, and by doing so had broken the chains of the old order forever.